Hi everybody, it's Daniel Prince Crybaby, and today we're gonna look at all of the Britney Spears fragrances. This video is especially close to my heart because I've been collecting these for years and I love every single one of them. Can you even imagine that Britney Spears has released over 30 different fragrances? That is like almost as many as the singles she has in her discography. You know, it was estimated that she has sold over 100 billion US dollars worth of her fragrances by 2021. That's crazy. And in 2013, the Daily Express reported that there is a Britney Spears fragrance sold somewhere around the world every 15 seconds. So where does this success come from? And how does Britney Spears earn so much money on something that's not even related to her music? Okay, to begin with, we'll have to divide them into three groups because there's so many of them, and I think you will see why, especially if you're a fan. I would call this the golden era of Britney Spears fragrances, which lasted from 2004 to 2009. Then I would call this the silver era of Britney Spears fragrances, which lasted from 2009 all the way to 2018. And these would be the Britney Spears fragrances, which this era starts from 2018 and lasts until today, 2022. So our story begins in 2004 when Britney Spears partnered with Elizabeth Arden to release her first ever fragrance called Curious.
Today is a really exciting day. It's so great that all of you are here to help Elizabeth Arden and me, my fragrance Curious, going global. I've always wanted to have a fragrance of my own, and now I've seen my dream come true. It's feminine and sexy, and Elizabeth Arden put a special vanilla musk in it and added Louisiana Magnolia. It reminds me of home, and I helped design the bottle too. It's really, really pretty. It smells amazing. It's in department stores now, so I seriously suggest to be sexy and go out and get it, seriously.
The scent was a success, everybody loved it, and so it also received a Fifi Award for the Best Female Celebrity Fragrance and Grammy Awards for 5 consecutive years for the Best Fragrance.
I'm really happy about Curious. When we were making it, we knew it was something special. And then it went on sale in the States in September, and it was instantly popular. It's amazing.
The phenomenal success of Curious has led to the creation of Fantasy.
I love giving Fantasy for the holidays because it makes you feel sexy and seductive.
Fantasy, the special thing about it was that it didn't really smell like anything else in the perfume world. So it's a very unique scent. And it's safe to say now, since its success has even overcome the success of Curious, that this is the actual signature scent for Britney Spears. Which is why, after the success of Fantasy, there was no way back. And which is also why there are so many other perfumes in the Fantasy line.
Fantasy. Everybody has one.
I'm so excited and proud because my very first 2 fragrances, Curious and Fantasy, were 2 of the biggest and most successful launches of the last 5 years. And I've just been told that I've sold over 10 million bottles of fragrance.
Fantasy also won an award for the best fragrance at Sasa Awards in 2009. Then in 2006, Curious, In Control and Midnight Fantasy came out. Both becoming sort of iconic for Britney Spears, but especially Midnight Fantasy, that one of the fashion magazines even called guilty pleasure for those who only go for high brand perfumes like Chanel and all of that. In 2007, Britney released Believe. The curious thing about Believe is that it's the only standalone perfume in all of the Britney Spears fragrances. It doesn't have any follow-up, any limited edition, any reinterpretation, nothing. In 2008, Curious Heart came out, and it was a re-edition, a limited edition of Curious. If someone tells you it smells different, they're lying because it's actually the exact same scent. You can check it out in a very cute bottle. And then in 2009, Britney Spears graced us with 2 different perfumes, one being Hidden Fantasy, one being Circus Fantasy, and I think Circus Fantasy has also earned an iconic spot in all of Britney Spears fragrances.
For the new fragrance, we wanted to do something very interesting, but it was also kind of yummy. We wanted to have something very, very addictive.
I like it.
Circus Fantasy also won a Cosmopolitan Award for the Best Celebrity Fragrance of 2009. And we know that Derek Barry, the most famous Britney Spears impersonator in the world, is wearing Circus Fantasy. So that's also something. However, after the release of Circus Fantasy, I think the golden era, the true golden era of Britney Spears fragrances comes to an end, and we will see why. Since 2008, as many of you know, Britney Spears was under this so-called conservatorship where she was not in control of her life, personally and professionally, right? So she was not in charge of most of the decisions, including creative decisions in her career. This conservatorship lasted for over 13 years, and it was proven to be an abusive one in court. Britney Spears was finally free. Yeah, it made us all happy, right, for her. However, during this era, she kept releasing music, she kept releasing fragrances and other stuff. Fans were made to believe that she was actively involved in all of this, but it's reasonable to imagine she wasn't always as enthusiastic about things as she used to before, because some of these were not even her decision. So we would still see signs of Britney working on her new fragrances. Some of these she was very passionate when talking about in her interviews and all of that. Some of them she never even mentioned. So you got this and that, you know. When Radiance was released in 2010, it was featured in at least 2 of her music videos. There was a commercial, but Britney herself never talked, never gave an interview about the fragrance, what it was like, what it meant for her.
I choose my own destiny.
Around this time, the Britney Spears fragrance company also reduced the costs of production, which is why the concentration of the newer perfumes is way lower compared to their original ones. Fans have noticed that for many fragrances, including Fantasy, Midnight Fantasy, Curious. The bottles also were made cheaper starting from around this time. So say if you have the original Curious with a sprayer, see the water has changed its color because it's very old. The newer Curious bottles were made without a sprayer. The original Fantasy bottles used to have these diamonds around the neck, whereas the newer Fantasy bottles do not have any diamonds on them. The original Believe used to have this metal plate with a Britney Spears signature heart that I also have here. Whereas the newer editions of Believe do not have that, and you can even see the difference in color, and there is also obviously a difference in the way they smell. This is way more concentrated and stronger, and it will last longer. 2011 has brought us Cosmic Radiance and Fantasy Twist. Fantasy Twist not being an original scent by itself, but combining Fantasy and Midnight Fantasy in a smart commercial marketing move. This was very warmly accepted by the fans, and it was even nominated for a Pop Crush Award for the best fragrance of the year in 2012.
It's for a perfume called Fantasy Twist, and the concept is perception. It means like all the fans perceive Britney in a different way, and you know, that was like the idea to show Britney in the eyes of the fans.
2013 gave us Island Fantasy, which was an original scent, and also Fantasy Anniversary Edition, celebrating 10 years of the original fragrance of Fantasy. This was like a cash grabbing move sort of from the team, because it was nothing new, but at the same time they gave us this new bottle and the cute handwritten messages from Britney. There were 3 of them. Mine says, "To my sweet scented fans for a decade of love, XOXO Britney." So I mean, it's still very special for the fans though, even though there's nothing new about the fragrance. The box for Fantasy Anniversary Edition also features names of probably like hundreds of fans everywhere on the inside, everywhere here as well. So I mean, it was a special treat. They designed it sort of well. It was thoughtful. There was thought put into this. Another funny thing about Britney Spears fragrances around this time, 2011 to 2013, is that they probably didn't want to put a lot of money and thought into the visuals. So Island Fantasy, Cosmic Radiance, Fantasy Twist, and Original Fantasy all featured the same picture of Britney in promotional posters at the time, which is ridiculous. sort of, but also iconic, I guess, for the Britney Spears fragrances and for the fans of all of these. In 2014, Fantasy Nice and Naughty remixes came out, and as you can see, the original bottles also feature this nice little chain, sort of like a bracelet that you could wear on the neck of the bottle. The newer editions did not have that. The same year, Fantasy Stage Edition came out. This was also a bit weird because, again, this was cashing in on the original Fantasy fragrance. Same fragrance, limited edition bottle, celebrating Britney's most iconic performances. Very cute, very nice in design. However, the quality is weird because this is just a piece of plastic wrapped around a Fantasy bottle. So, okay. And then at the end of that year, Rocker Femme Fantasy also came out.
I'm so excited to launch my new fragrance, Rocker Femme Fantasy. I hope it gives you the power to unlock your rock and roll side.
In 2015, Intimate Fantasy came along with the Britney Spears lingerie line.
The feeling of being feminine and seductive. When soft whispers speak to your desires. These are my intimate fantasies.
In 2016, we saw Maui Fantasy. And at the end of the year, at the time of the release of the Glory album, Private Show also came out.
Hey everyone, it's Britney. I'm so excited to introduce you all to my new fragrance, Private Show. It's an uplifting, sexy scent I'm sure you'll love.
The new fragrance is really beautiful. I was inspired, I've been going to Hawaii a lot, so I'm inspired by soft, really soothing smells, and has like a pinch of lavender and stuff, and my mom really loves it, and a lot of my girlfriends do too. So Private Show it's almost like a diamond, and the top is pink, of course, because it's my favorite color.
At the beginning of 2017, another very important fragrance for Britney came out. It's called Fantasy in Bloom. What's special about it is that it became very popular, and it also won an award, a Hollywood Beauty Award in 2018 as the best fragrance of the year.
Beautiful, it's so cool. I'm really, really flattered. I've been working with Ron and this Elizabeth Arden for so long now, so to actually get an award for doing all this work in the past 15 years is really, really cool.
Are you working on a new fragrance?
Yes, we are. It's in the works. It's a secret project though.
In 2017, we would also get VIP Private Show.
Hi, it's Britney, and I'm so happy to introduce my new fragrance, VIP Private Show. It captures the exciting feeling of being at one of my shows, and I'm sure you'll love it.
And then 2018 would give us Sunset Fantasy. Then 2019 was the year when Britney introduced the last original fragrance to date. It's called Prerogative. It was branded as unisex, the first ever unisex scent made by Britney Spears. But it's hard to say if Britney Spears herself was aware of that, because in the only interview she gave about the fragrance, she called it a scent for girls.
Why did you choose that particular name?
You know what? I think it's so bold. It's like no judgments. There's no labels, and it's just it's very fresh. And I feel like it's really powerful and sexy for girls to have the image of empowerment and to have a little bit of an ego. It's okay, and toot your own horn. I think that's kind of really important these days.
Prerogative was also nominated for the Best Social Media Campaign of the Year at FIFA Awards, and no doubt the campaign was iconic. And Prerogative sort of ends this era of Britney Spears being actively or partially involved with her perfumes, so we enter the third era. Since 2019, Britney Spears gets involved into this active legal battle against her team, her dad, and the conservatorship she's under. It's safe to assume she does not have the time to think and release a bunch of fragrances, right, that come out that time. So fans get really split on this one. Some refusing to do anything with these fragrances, saying that they do not come from Britney Spears because she didn't have to do anything with them. Some say that it's safe to buy these now once Britney is free, because the money goes to her directly and she can earn on her own name, on the name of her own brand. And some fans say that it was okay to buy them all along because Britney Spears was still getting money, even though some of it was going to her team. She was still getting the money that she was essentially using for the court, the battles in court and all of that. So fans really do get split on this one, and it's hard to say the truth, but now that Britney is free, we're happy for her. So this is a complex question that's very hard to find one common truth on. And an important moment to understand is that whenever a celebrity starts a side business, endorses a product or something like that, they do not always get very actively involved with the promotion and the production and all of that. So say with fragrances, iconic fragrances like Midnight Fantasy or Hidden Fantasy or Curious in Control, the fragrances that we all love that are very iconic and popular around the world, Britney Spears never actually publicly said much about them or anything. The difference here would be that until 2019 we would still get mentions of these perfumes on her social media. She would talk about them occasionally, she would give interviews about some of them, would get advertisement filmed upon them, whereas these have had no recognition from Britney Spears at all. So let's take a look into these perfumes. What are they? In 2019, Rainbow Fantasy came out, and later we also got Prerogative Rave, which sort of made sense to release another Prerogative because they had a lot of footage from the advertisement they just finished filming in 2019 for Prerogative, so recycling that sort of. In 2020 we got Glitter Fantasy, then Prerogative Ego, finishing the Prerogative line, and the last one was Festive Fantasy. Now, another important moment is that in 2021, for more than a year, the Britney Spears Fragrances official Instagram was completely inactive. However, in the same year, 3 fragrances were released, which were Fantasy Intense and then Electric Fantasy with a very weird promotional poster, and Fantasy Sheer. And so the latest fragrance released to date came out in 2022, and it's Blissful Fantasy, and that's all we basically have for now. The legacy of the Britney Spears fragrances cannot be underestimated, but as of now, it's hard to say what the future of the brand is, right? Now that Britney is in charge, of course we the fans would hope that she would get back in control and release a few or plenty of new, powerful, amazing fragrances the same way she did once with Fantasy and Curious, and earned the spot of the queen not just of the pop music but also the celebrity fragrances, right? Now there's been more than 30 of them out and they've all been super successful. This has also paved the way from some other pop stars like Ariana Grande, who's releasing a new fragrance every single year. It's really hard to say, and of course it's Britney Spears' call as to what she wants to do with this empire now. But throughout the years, Britney Spears fragrances have received the acclaim of very, very different audiences, calling them guilty pleasure or the best thing they've ever had. And it's safe to say that the Britney Spears fragrance brand has a very, very big potential still. So let's hope whenever she is ready, she'll come back to hit us baby one more time. We'll see what the future brings. What do you think the future of the Britney Spears fragrances will be? Leave a comment below. It was Daniel, Prince Crybaby. Please like my video, put a thumbs up, subscribe, and tell me what you think about the future of Britney Spears fragrances and the legacy she has left us. Bye bye, see you next time. My boyfriend and I will be reviewing all of the Britney Spears fragrances in the Fantasy line and outside of Fantasy line in 2 videos coming in the 2 following weeks. Make sure you'll catch that and see you very soon. Bye bye.